Okay, that's fine. Hey everyone, thank you for coming. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes, maybe one or two more, just in case there's anyone having some technical difficulties, internet issues. So just about another minute or two. All right, well, thank you all for coming tonight. Tonight, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you guys are. Today, we're going to be talking about federal funding opportunities beyond SBIRs. I'm actually joined right now with my colleague, Eran. He is our manager of consulting services. My name is Benjamin. I'm the director of business development here at Eagle Point Funding. If you look in the chat, there's a direct link to my calendar. So if you want to schedule a call with me, I'd be more than happy. I'm open the next couple of weeks. So just give me a call. I'd love to talk to you, see what we can find for you guys. So first off, most important thing to know is the United States government has a lot of money they're giving away for R&D funding. They've got about 142 billion that they've set aside this year for R&D. About 40 to 60 billion of it is given to industry, private industry. The rest is split between interagencies, universities, and some other different ventures. There's two main types of funding opportunities. There's dilutive and non-dilutive. Dilutive funding is, like you guys probably already know, venture capital, private investors. They're going to be looking for equity, maybe some board members, some IP rights. The U.S. government doesn't operate that way. They do it a little bit easier. There's no equity that you have to give up. There's no interference. They don't have any say in what you guys choose to do, and you maintain all IP rights. So you might be thinking, why would I want to get a grant? I mean, money's nice, but what else is there for me? So actually, the great thing is that it's considered a seal of approval if the United States government has decided that you guys are worthy of getting a US federal grant. It's a great way to leverage for private investment. I mean, a Milken Institute back in 2012 found that for every dollar given in public investment, companies were able to leverage it almost 8 times in the private sector in terms of funding. So it's really beneficial in that when you go to VCs or for another seed round, it's a fantastic way to leverage to get more money. The US government, they cover a broad range of different types of technologies they're looking to fund. It's not just the DoD. I mean, we're talking NASA, the National Science Foundation, we're talking Department of Transportation, Department of Homeland Security, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And this list I've got up here and on this next slide are just some of the opportunities we see most that come up in terms of funding, but it is by no means just the list. There are plenty of others that aren't listed on these lists. So you might be thinking, all right, federal funding is probably not from a company I've ever heard of. They're probably these tiny startups that never really went anywhere, but that's just not the case. It actually turns out, I mean, here's a list of some that you've probably heard of. I mean, 23andMe, I don't know about you guys. I was very interested in genetic testing, so I wanted to find out about me. That wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for United States government funding. So it's just one of those things where the United States government is looking to help promote and really grow technology wherever they can to be at the forefront of innovation. I mean, some of the major technologies you guys have probably, I mean, I know you guys are using right now is the internet. Internet's one of those things that was funded with government grants, GPS, Siri as well, which you guys probably use on a daily basis. So it's not just tech you've never heard of. It is stuff that is used in your life constantly. So, all right, that sounds great. You know, it's companies I've heard of and all nice, but why? Why is the US government doing this? So it really comes down to two reasons. First reason is they have a need. You know, the US government decides, and these departments, they've come up with a problem that they have, and they're like, and they decide that, listen, we can't solve it ourselves. Let's see if the private sector can do it. And if they can do it more efficiently than we could. So they post. That's what these solicitations are for the US government grants. It's problems they are having that they need filled and need help solve. So they post a solicitation offering up the money. You know, a bunch of different organizations and companies, they submit their proposals for seeing if they can be the ones to get the funding. And the US government makes an investment in them and really sticks with them and sees how you guys perform and how well you guys can bring your product to light, your technology to light. And if it works out, great, because for them, to the United States government, they want to be one of your early adopters. They want to be one of your first customers because it will help them solve this problem that they've identified. Now, the second issue, or second reason I should say, is it's seed money. You know, you could say, obviously it's nice. You can say that there's job creation and improves quality of life. US stays at the forefront, but ultimately what it comes down to is taxes. For every dollar the US government puts in the funding, they've found that they get an ROI of almost $2.50 in return in taxes down the line. They want you guys to get as big as you possibly can, because all it means is down the line, they'll be getting more in taxes and tax revenue. So there's two main types of grant methods. The first one is the SBIR, the Small Business Innovation Research. This one is about $3.5 billion a year is awarded annually. It comes in multiple phases. You know, there's phase one, which is a proof of concept, phase two, which is a prototype phase, and then there is an additional afterwards to help you guys commercialize if the United States government feels it's the right fit. Though that being said, SBIRs, they do have three requirements. You know, you have to be under 500 employees. Your R&D has to be done in the United States. And 51% of ownership has to be either US citizens or at least green card holders. Now, even though that's $3.5 billion, like I said, there was $40 to $60 billion out there. So where does the rest of the money of that go? 96% of that leftover money goes to BAAs, the broad agency announcements. These are grants and solicitations that are looking at longer term. You know, there's continuous funding. They're looking 2 to 5 years generally, and these have no award ceiling. These can start off at 100,000, and we've worked with companies that have gotten upwards of 60 million because they had the right tool. Now, SBIRs, those are focused. They are specific issues that are out there, specific things that the United States government has identified. But BAAs, on the other hand, it's a little bit more broad. It's a little more open, hence the name broad. You know, the way it works is the United States government goes, we have a general idea of what our needs are, but you come to us, let us know how you can fix it, how you can help us solve, you know, this area that we're at. And this federal funding, it can be used for anything to help finance your R&D project, and only your R&D project. Unfortunately, all the money has to go to your research and development, but it can work on, you know, salaries, it can work on materials, facility costs, and depending on the grants, you are able in the solicitation, you are able to set aside, or I should say, to mark on your books up to 7% profit. Like I said, depending on which particular grant you guys are awarded. But it's a nice thing. It's always nice to be able to put that on your books. Now, the other main reason the United States government wants to work with you and wants to help fund you is because ultimately it comes down to that beat the G. They want to be able to be one of your customers. They want to be able to be one of your clients. You know, we've got AFWERX, which is an Air Force agency program. We've got the Army Applications Laboratory, which is another broad agency announcement. We've got XTech, which is another Army one, as well as the Department of Homeland Security and the DIU. So it's broad. It's not just any one specific agency. It's spread out across the government. They're all looking to get government grants and government contracts and to help you guys, or to use you guys to help them solve their issues. Now, my colleague Iran he's one of the most knowledgeable people I know when it comes to actually the grants, and he's going to be talking a little bit more in depth about the grants that we've identified for, you know, some high caliber BAAs currently.
Yeah, hi, Billy. So thank you very much, and hi, everyone. My name is Iran. I've been Benjamin said, and I'm the head of the Grant Department at Point Funding. If you don't hear me well, let me know, and you just put a chat or just raise your hand. Or you know what? Raise your hand so that I know that you can hear me. That there aren't any problems. Okay, thank you, Chuck. So I know that at least one person can hear me. I assume that everyone else also. So anyway, what we're seeing here is, hi Paula, thank you very much. So what you can see here is an opportunity from the ERDC, the Army's Engineering Research and Development Center. And it's open for submission right now. As you can see, they're looking for the average amount is about $300 to $500K. Evaluation date time is about 2 to 3 months usually for at least for the first period of submission. Now, this is kind of like an open topic, meaning that you can see here the focus areas are very, very broad. They're looking for protective structures and systems, protection and survivability, geophysical sensors. So basically, most companies who are doing something that has to do anything that has to do something with engineering can most likely find their focus area or find a use case for themselves in this application. One of the things to know here is that they're not actually looking, in this case, they're not looking for a prototype. So they are looking for something that is a little bit more, I won't call it basic research, but towards the core technology that you have. So they're looking for something that is more, it's more on the core of your solution. We had a company that just today received an answer from from the ERDC that they have applied with a prototype, and in this case, in this BAA, they're not looking to support a prototype, and they are looking to support a core technology. Obviously, it wasn't the case, and we didn't submit a project in this case for a prototype, but it was some case of misunderstanding by the reviewers. So one of the tips that I can give you here is that, for example, if you're applying for this one, or if you're working with us, one of the things that we need to know is how to focus the application and where to put the focus and the emphasis on the project, and try to convince and try to connect and show how we are going to improve the core technology, the basic understanding and knowledge of whatever it is that we're applying here, and how we're going to significantly advance our capabilities. Not only have a proof of concept or a prototype. The proof of concept or prototype is more for the ERDC works, which is one of the opportunities that Benjamin has mentioned before. But in this case, it's more development. Usually, this is the case with BAAs, Broad Agency Announcement, and FOA. Okay. So this is one example of open BAA, or rather open BAA for companies who are doing engineering. Next, if we can move to the next slide. Benjamin? Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you. So this is the AAL, Army's Application Laboratory. Basically, so I'll give a very high brief about what they're looking for and what they're doing, and then I'll give you some background about it. So it's open for submission all the time. The average estimated award is a few $1 million, up to $3 million for a period of a few years, or whatever it is that we need. Evaluation time is supposed to be between 30 and 60 days. In the past, sometimes it was a bit longer than that. We did have cases where they came back to companies within the day. But usually it's also about 1 to 2 months, sometimes a little bit more than that. They have focus areas, autonomous platforms, AI, data visualization, computation, and technologies, IoT, quantum technologies, basically everything. Every company that is developing something that is technological can find a use case with the AAL. So the AAL is part of Army's Future Command. So what they're doing is they're looking for the next technology that they can incorporate into the Army and that can help the Army solve the problems of the Army of the future. Usually they're looking at the challenges that they're going to face in 2035 or 2030, depending on the scale and who you ask or where you read. The Army, if they will hear this, they won't like it most likely, but this is very similar to AFWERX. AFWERX for the Air Force kind of like is an open topic for dual use technologies. So it's an opening for companies and high-tech companies and developers to find a way to insert their technology and to work with the Air Force in a very efficient way. And it works very well. There are many companies who are submitting and applying and helping the Air Force solve their problems. And the Army AAL is pretty much in a lot of ways the same. It's not an SBIR, so it's not as structured the same way when you have phase 1, phase 2 extensions and phase 3 and all that. But the idea is pretty much the same. You need to show the Army that you have a solution that will solve one of their problems, that is connected to one of their focus areas that is described in this slide and in the AAL website. And they're open for everything, and also all level of maturity of your technology. It can be a system that is already being sold in the market. You maybe even have customers within the Army or other branches of the military. Or you need their help and funding for development and prototyping and other parts of what you're doing. So it's very broad. It's very open for many companies. Another thing to know is that I don't actually remember if it's this year or next year or when exactly, but they are being funded. Up until now, they didn't have their set aside budget to fund applicants and companies and awardees, but they are getting funded. I think it's starting fiscal year 2021 or 2022. I don't remember. I heard it in a call with them for a few months ago, but it used to be that you submit and then either they tell you, well, in a call that I had with them with another company, they said, well, we would have loved to support you and to fund you, but we don't have money. So right now it's supposed to change, and they're going to get significant fund. I think it was about $2 billion per year or something like that. Again, it's from my memory, and it took some time. So there is time to go for that. So let me very quickly just look at the Q&A. Max, if you can hear me, can you tell me exactly which question did you prefer when you asked me?
No, Aran, don't worry about it. You can respond when you're done.
Oh, okay. So this is the AAL again. It's something that is very encouraged and very interesting and moving forward and very available for companies. Okay, so next we can look at the next opportunities. Okay, so this is the ARL. Before we had Army Application Lab, this is Army Research Lab. And from the name you can understand the difference. The AAL is for applications. It's for the Army to use to find ways to use this technology and in different applications, and it's for something that is faster and more ready for them to use. The research laboratory is more focused on research. So they're looking for basic and applied research. They're looking for technologies that at their core, high risk, high reward, breakthrough technologies. The awards are usually about a few $100,000 to maybe $1 million and more than that. It's not really stated per year. Basically, this solicitation is open. I think it was published in 2018, if I remember correctly, and it will be open until 2020 or 2022. Sorry. So it's open for a 5-year period. Currently, it's about midlife towards the later stages of its life. And they were funded by about $970 million for that duration. So there's a lot of money, but there are a lot of topics and there are a lot of focus areas. So the Army has published, as part of this BAA, many focus areas and campaigns. And in each one of their campaigns, they had specific needs and specific projects that they wanted to solve. So someone within the Army has identified a need, a problem that they want to solve, and they approached companies, research facilities, universities, individuals, anyone, foreign and local in the United States, that can solve these problems through research and development. And this is a long-range BAA, so it's open for a long time. And as we said before, this is a basic and applied research. So they expect to see low readiness level at the beginning of the project, and it doesn't really have to end with a procurement contract, or with a prototype. It can be just advancing your basic knowledge. So this is the ARL, also very, very broad. Almost all companies, everyone can find most likely something that will be relevant for them. One of the tips that I can give regarding the ARL is that you need to talk to them before. You need to try and reach out to the program manager or the TPOC, the technical point of contact that is mentioned at the end of each one of their focus areas and topics, and try to talk to them to see if there are any funds available at the topics that you want to apply. Is your technology relevant? Maybe they already received other applications. What's the expectations of the TPOC regarding this project? So I would suggest before starting to work on this one, and even though the white paper is only 5 pages long, so it's not that big of an application, before you submit and wait, as you can see here, the wait is long. It's up to 6 months of waiting, and even then they don't always respond. I would suggest don't waste your time, and before you start working on this application, try calling them, setting up a meeting with them to present what you're doing, and only then move forward to the submission itself. So that's the ARL. Next, we have, Benjamin, can you please forward? Thank you. So we have the DHS Long Range BAA. So it is open for submission now. As you can see, the award is a little bit smaller. It's about $100,000 or so per award. It takes them about 3 or 4 months to review and to answer and to invite you to the next steps. And as this is the DHS, so it's open in a way, but it's focused on things that are of interest for the DHS. So the DHS wants technologies, core technologies or products or solutions that will help them in solving problems that have to do with aviation security or border security, terrorism prevention, and protection from terrorist attacks, etc. So it's rather open. It's a nice application to go for if you have anything to do with, you can say, computer vision, advanced materials, detection technology, any kind of sensing project or technology that can identify materials or anything like this. AI to identify suspicious behavior can also be relevant here. So use your imagination, but basically a lot of companies can find a use case to go for that. And even if you're doing something a little bit off, so in our case, computer vision, and you are doing some kind of person identification, for any use case, you can identify a person, you can track them, you can do anything anything that you have. If you can do, if you can, through not very high level research and development, if you can adjust that to one of these needs, you can apply, and maybe you'll have a footstep within the DHS, which is obviously a very big customer, and advance your capabilities either at the core of your technology or growing into a new market. So this is the DHS. It's open now. I think there's still time until this ends, so I wouldn't wait too long, but still there's a way to go for that. Okay, Benjamin, what's next? I think it's continuing. It's going back to you. Should I present it, or do you want to do that?
I think you're probably in the best situation to do it.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So these are some of our past winners and just examples of the different technologies and different types of projects that are winning. And many companies can find themselves and relate themselves. And I'm similar to this company. I'm doing something similar. I'm at a similar stage in my life. So for example, company one is an AI-powered facial recognition, same way that we discussed before. So they have won a phase 1 for $50K and secured an MOU with Uppers with the Air Force. And during their phase 1, they identified new use cases for the Air Force that they can use their system. So not only identifying who is trying to enter a base or a compound or a building, but also tracking where they are and using their system as a waypoint to the computer and to their working space. So they secured an MOU, applied for a phase 2. There were some kind of problems with the review, but hopefully they will, they were approved, but there was some kind of problem with their contracting. Hopefully it will be resolved soon. But theoretically, they got another $2 million from phase 2. Company 2, they're developing drone-based data management software. Basically, what they're doing is they're analyzing information that is gathered by drones and managing where they are flying and what they're doing. They secured a phase 2 for a use case that has something to do, I won't say too much, but has something to do with tracking the health of forests around bases that is connected to the presence of a certain beetle that for some reason the Air Force had an interest in. With that memorandum, with that contract, they have applied for a phase 2, $750K, and then a few months after that, submitted for something that is now called Strat 5. Maybe you've heard about that, strategic funding investment from AF Ventures, Air Force Ventures, and they want additional $6 million from the Air Force to support their finalization of the development and the marketing and sales. Another company is developing carbon nanotubes. They have won multiple awards. They won phase 1 and phase 2. This company is working mainly on the for this company it was about space radiation hardening. So systems that are going to space, they're using their carbon nanotubes as a tool to block radiation from harming electronic devices on the spaceship or satellite. They won both Air Force and Department of Energy. Another company, Video and Live Stream Interactive Tech, they were awarded phase 1 and phase 2 from AFREX in the field of, they started off as working in the marketing and advertising world, and kind of like switched and made a small shift towards the recruiting and training world. And based on that, they have won they have won phase 1, another phase 2. They were selected but not awarded they selected for funding but didn't receive funding because of funding constraints from the Air Force for another phase 2. They've submitted another phase 2. Basically, they kind of found their niche, a small company that is going to get a lot of money from the government, and hopefully it will help them significantly to move forward. And the last company is a company that is developing wearables, fabrics, and sensors. They have a very cool technology to incorporate sensors and activators into fabric. They have won a phase 2 for a haptic glove that can increase the effectiveness of training for pilots and for other technicians within the Air Force. So very small examples, a short list of examples of companies who have won with us in the past. Obviously, there are other companies, and I think many companies can find themselves fitting into one of their technologies areas and relate to them.
Thank you for that, Eran.
Yeah.
So you guys have just heard this nice list. You've heard about all the money. You've heard that there's something there, but the question is probably on your mind is, how do I win? What does the government use to judge who wins? First and foremost, it's how innovative is your tech. The government isn't looking to make these small incremental jumps. They're looking to make leaps and bounds. They're looking for something that's going to push technology to the forefront and push it forward by wide margin. Second most important thing to them is they want to see a team. They want to see a team that has brought products to market before, have been able to deliver on R&D in the past, teams that can do what you guys say you do. And I know you guys can do it, but the government wants to know it as well. They want to see that they're making an investment in you. They want to know that it's going to work out. And number 3 is it's got to be commercially viable. They're looking for a product that can, like I said, going back to the taxes, something that can go to the private sector, that can be commercialized and can give the government taxes down the line. So why us? Why use advanced? Why use Eagle Point funding? Number one reason is we know the federal funding system. We don't work with companies on just a one submission. We're here to work multiple. We don't start working with a company unless we can find 5 opportunities for them, because we want to give you guys the best odds to secure government funding. We live and breathe this. Some of these solicitations can go 300, 400, 500 pages deep. Very intricate, super specific on formatting and exact way of wording. That's why we're here. Our grant writers, like Eran, they live and breathe this stuff. And most importantly is we could just write up all your tech dry. But that's not going to sell it. That's not going to tell the government why, the US government, why they need to work with you guys. We really write a story about you. We tell them what you guys do, what you're looking to do, and how you're planning on changing the world and changing technology as we know it. Nice thing about us is we actually have a sister company called Deep Tech Showcase. And this is for a little bit down the line, once you guys have already won an award from, a grant from the US government. But in this Deep Tech Showcase, it is basically, it's 4 pitch events annually, winter, spring, summer, fall, with multiple pitch sessions at each. And what it does is we bring investors and government stakeholders and basically anyone you could need on a biz dev side. We make those connections for you guys. We help you out, let you pitch directly to the heads of these departments and to the heads of these people who are choosing who to give grants to. And in the months between, we're making those connections between companies that are looking for some help and the investors who are looking to fund. A little bit about Eagle Point funding, a little bit about us. We're part of the Freemind group. It's a group that was established, like it says, 1999. We've been around a little over 20 years. I mean, across our four companies, we've won $1.5 billion in awards plus. I mean, we've got 500 active clients. I know it says 120 in-house professionals. I think it's closer to 160. And in just Eagle Point, we've got 40 on our team alone working on grants to find you guys the right opportunities. We focus on everything outside of life sciences. Freemind actually focuses on them, our sister company, but we do everything else. Any other type of tech, that's what we specialize in. So what to expect once you're partnering with EPF? Basically, within 24, 72 hours, after signing an agreement, we have a kickoff call. You, me, whoever on your team technically wise should be there, and Eran and some of our grant writers will get on a phone call, and we're going to take a deep dive, an orientation, onboarding, so to speak, where we get to know your tech as well as we can. And we're going to start writing. We're going to start working with you guys within weeks to help you guys get applied for the proper portals, the government portals, because there are a lot. And we're going to start writing those grants, and it's going to take a significant investment the first time around, the first submission, because that's where we're properly learning what you guys need, what you guys do. But every subsequent submission will go a little faster. It will take a little bit less time, and we see by the 3rd, 4th, it's really not taking that much time on your hands, but 10 hours a week, or I should say 10 hours of submission. We like to work over a 9-month engagement period, so at least 5 over those 9 months. But we generally see after we get the first 1 or 2 out of the way, it's about a submission every 3 to 5 weeks that we are engaged. That's how often we're putting out a grant, submitting a grant for you guys. So I know you guys have probably noticed throughout this webinar that there was a little QR code in the bottom. That's directly to my calendar. If you guys want to schedule a call, I'm available this week and next to talk to you, see if we can find the right opportunities for you. And you might be wondering, what's it going to cost me? So we have a standard business model. We do not deviate from it. It is just how we work. It's 2 payments of $23,000 spread over the first 5 months of engagement with a 5% success fee for every grant you guys gain and you guys are awarded. But that is our model. Listen, we'd love to help you guys. We will be passing out, we will be emailing you a copy of this webinar and of the slides we've talked about. And I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to see if we can find you guys some great grants. Now, Eran is here, and like I said, he's, as you probably have realized, he is our most knowledgeable guy when it comes to these opportunities. So he's going to stick around for a little bit. And if you have any questions, throw it in the QA, throw it in the chat. Let's ask him some things. Let's pick his brain because he is the most knowledgeable about it. Eran?
Yeah, so I see that Max through the webinar already answered most of the questions. So Zygmunt Rubel asked right now, for the SBIRs, the research needs to be completed in the United States. If a company has a team partially in the United States and partially out of the company, out of the country, is there any flexibility for the two teams working on the grant, or all money needs to be spent on U.S. resources? For SBIR, the classroom answer or the straight answer is that all money spent under SBIR needs to be spent in the United States. That being said, obviously there are always exclusions or ways to go, I won't say around, but ways to get their approval to change that. So if you have some offshore team and you just have to use them because they have specialties and knowledge that you can't find anywhere in the world, and there's no other way to get into the United States, then you may ask for the Air Force, for the SBIR approval to have some kind of offshore activity, but I wouldn't count on it. And you can, so I wouldn't count on it. Now, you can have people from offshore doing offshoring for the application and for the company itself, but you can't fund it. All the money that is spent during the SBIR, during the project, must be funded, must be spent in the United States. So you can allocate, you can change, you can have some of the work done out of the United States, but it can't be connected to the SBIR. I hope that answers the question. So this is that question, that one. So regarding an anonymous attendee asks which program is more competitive, SBIR or BAA? It's a hard question because both are very competitive, but in a different way. So for SBIRs, I'll give you the example from the Air Force. So we had, I would say, there were most likely about 1,800 or so applicants for the last cycle of the Air Force's SBIR. Out of them, I would say that about 300 to 400 would be awarded a phase one. So it's pretty competitive. For the NSF, we're talking about, I heard somewhere 11, I know about 15% of the applications are being awarded. So that's also very competitive. For BAAs, it can range between the single digits to 10% or maybe 20%. Again, very, very varies between the applications. Both of them are very competitive. I wouldn't say that one is more competitive than the other, but both of them are very competitive, and you should try to submit to as many as you can to improve your chances of winning. Naturally, for SBIR, because I assume that most of you are small businesses, it's more aligned to you. So you won't be competing with huge companies or research facilities. You will be competing with companies or with applicants that are similar to you. So in a way, it increases your chances. There are ways to increase your chances of winning an SBIR if you already have some kind of a market presence. If you have obviously a strong technology, that helps you. But other than that, both of them are very competitive. I would say that the SBIR is a little bit better suited for small companies. Are there funds for nonprofit working with innovative technology solutions in the DEI realm? I believe so. DEI, I assume. I'm trying to see exactly which type of technology you're using. Is it directed electronics, or if you can, Frana, if you can, diversity. Okay. Data science. Okay, yeah, okay, great. So yeah, I believe so. We're not really working with nonprofits, so it's harder for me to say. BAAs, for example, the ARL that we saw before is open for nonprofits as well. AAL, I think, is also open for nonprofits. SBIRs obviously are not. So yeah, I mean, I would expect that there are. You can also work as some kind of a partner or subcontractor in most cases of another company who is for profit. But there's so many opportunities that I would expect that yes, there are opportunities that will be available for nonprofits in all fields. So we do not work with nonprofits, but we don't work up until now. We have one kind of like nonprofit. We have a for-profit entity which is a subsidiary of a nonprofit, and we work with them, and we have some success with them. The thing with nonprofit is that it limits our ability to find applications very significantly. But case by case, if you have a technology that talk to us and see if you find talk to us, describe to us what you're doing. We can have a quick search to see what is the what opportunities we can find, and if what we find fits your needs and your expectations, then obviously we'll be happy to work with you. NSF 1.5, anywhere between 11 and 11 and 15, 1.5 percentage of success for the full application. This is the market rate theoretically for the NSF, SBIR. Okay, let's see if there are any other questions. I see that Max covered the chat. Okay, so Benjamin, Max,
All right.
anything you want to add?
Everyone, it's been a pleasure. I hope all of you managed to get your answers, your questions answered, and it's been a pleasure. Hopefully we can talk sometime this week or next. Have a great evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you guys are.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good luck.